I digged a little more so I can possibly uncover some more about Ghost of YOTEI. I think that there will be some interesting stuff added into the game that was teased in the trailer. Keep watching to find out. Make sure to subscribe for more updates. Note that you're able to wishlist Ghost of YOTEI on PlayStation Store right now, and let's move forward. Starting with the obvious stuff. At the end of the trailer, Atsu is shown wielding a matchlock gun. It's currently unclear whether Ghost of YOTEI's guns will replace Ghost of Tsushima's bows, but that will much likely be revealed in the upcoming months. Until then, it's worth looking back of the history of the matchlock guns and what their place might be in Ghost of YOTEI. By 1603 and the start of the Edo period, where Ghost of YOTEI takes place, the Tokugawa shogunate has taken over control of Japan, led by Tokugawa Ieyasu. At that time, the ongoing conflict in Japan began to dwindle, lessening the need for Tanegashima. Since most of the conflict during the Edo period consisted of small-scale battles, the katana was generally the weapon of choice. That being said, there were still around 200 gunsmiths scattered throughout Japan at the time, with the samurai primarily being the ones to use the weapons, but generally only for hunting and target practice. That brings me to my next point. There is a line in the trailer addressed to a hunter, which may mean that hunting will now be a prominent part of the game, as wildlife such as wolves are shown in the initial trailer. Ghost of YOTEI already appears to have a lot in common with Red Dead Redemption 2, just as its predecessor Ghost of Tsushima did. Unlike Ghost of Tsushima, however, Ghost of YOTEI seems to be leaning even more into the western feel of traditional samurai stories, with its protagonist Atsu even being somewhat of an outlaw, like Red Dead Redemption 2's Arthur Morgan. In light of those comparisons, Ghost of YOTEI might as well dive even deeper into Red Dead Redemption 2 and borrow some of its better features. In the announcement trailer of Ghost of YOTEI, Atsu can be seen riding her own horse throughout a herd of wild horses, suggesting that a feature similar to Red Dead Redemption 2 horse taming would fit right in with the game. As the scene goes on and we see the interaction of Atsu and the wolf, that leads me to believe that we'll be able to tame other companion animals as well. On the other note, haikus were a prominent feature in Ghost of Tsushima, so that leads me to believe that other art form minigames are not out of the question for Ghost of YOTEI. The Edo period is considered to be the golden age of yokai storytelling. This period was a peaceful time in Japan's history, appreciated and representative of Japan's aspiration for achievement in art, literature and drama. The creation of renowned Japanese art forms such as kabuki drama, puppet theater and woodblock prints, which were the origins of today's manga, appeared and happened during the Edo period. Yokai storytelling was combined with these art forms and became a robust aspect of folklore and Japanese storytelling. So popular was yokai storytelling that compiling encyclopedic collections of yokai for sharing purposes became popular among Japanese artists. In Ghost of Tsushima, Jin could play beautiful melodies on his shikahachi, the long bamboo flute. Naturally, a sequel or spin-off would need to contain a similar mechanic, and it absolutely looks like Ghost of YOTEI has its own version of Jin's shakuhachi. However, rather than being a flute, Atsu has a shamisen, a 3-string plucked instrument akin to a modern-day guitar, which she carries around with her on her back. Another weapon making its debut is the kusarigama. This deadly weapon is used by swinging the weighted chain before unleashing the blade towards your opponent. The kusarigama can also disarm opponents, with the chain being used to wrap around katanas. Atsu will likely use this weapon to remove weak opponents' weapon, leaving them open to a fatal strike from her katana. We imagine this weapon will deal less damage but will make up for this with high speed and mobility. Another weapon which might make an appearance I mentioned in my previous prediction video is the naginata. While we saw less use in the Edo period, the naginata was still utilized by samurai, the ashigaru, the warrior monks, as like in the first Ghost of Tsushima game, and famously the Onamusha, which were the female warriors. Whether Atsu herself will be able to wield one remains to be seen, but she could come across enemies that have mastered this type of weapon. In regards to how the story of the game would unfold, it may be upon more religious grounds due to the westernization which began in that period. Christianity first arrived in Japan during the 16th century through Jesuit missionaries, and that was not until the Edo period that it began to gain significant traction. Over time, the growth of an exclusive Western belief system began to be seen as a direct challenge to traditional Japanese values. This led to increased restrictions on Christianity within the country. Eventually, this resulted in the persecution of Japanese Christians and foreigners of faith. The Shimabara Rebellion is one of the most famous uprisings that occurred in response to those restrictions and religious policies. I don't believe it's out of the question that we see some kind of Shimabara rebellion in the game itself. The Tokugawa shogunate had a significant impact on the religious landscape of Japan, the results of which could be seen as both positive and negative. Each religion and philosophy had a unique impact on Japanese society. Ghost of Yotei and the player may be able to see firsthand that these varied religions, how they exactly impact the perspectives and the lives of people living in the Edo period Japan. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments, leave a like and subscribe. Keep in mind that most of this is pure speculation, and see you next time. Bye bye.